What's going on, guys? Today we're gonna do something a little different. Um, Something I'm usually interested in games is like lore and stuff like that. So we're gonna start a new series here where we just go through some of the lore and talk about like weaknesses and like how to kill some of the different monsters in the game. So today's video, as the title shows, is going to be about the assassin. So the assassin itself is said to be a humanoid, especially sculpted to shock humans and destroy them. Accounts of such a creature are similar, that of a tall humanoid figure who can seemingly melt into a swarm of insects. This is from the researchers' insight into the assassin, by the way. Another quote from there is, "Assassin's chest seems to harbor a vulnerable point." So what the researchers' insight into the assassin actually gets some of this info from is from something called the Journal of Harold Black, which is the researcher skin. But he originally went to Harvard and studied natural science. At some point, he decided that wasn't for him any longer, dropped out with the aspirations of becoming a writer, which that original career path didn't really bear any fruit, but it did lead him to going down south to New Orleans, where he worked some jobs here and there. One of these jobs had him report in an area where a shooting happened. It was a lynching and all this was going on. But there he saw a man, a very tall, weird looking man. He decided to follow the man, who ultimately ended up running away from him. Harold chased him down. They ended up in an alley. In that alley, the strange looking man kicked up some dust, kind of like messed with Harold's vision a little bit with that. And Harold was shocked to see this man scale up the side of the building. As this man was going up, before he crested over the top of the building, he also threw something at Harold, which Harold would later look and see it being a large, slender blade, a long, slender blade. After this moment, Harold, went on to do his thing. He had a hobby, or a habit, I should say. This habit was alcohol. He loved drinking. He loved going to the saloon and just getting plastered all night long. Major benders. He began to make some friendships. One of these friends that he made was his senior in the writing and reporting aspect of his life. The senior of his name was Vincent Orsica, I do believe is how you say it. They would spend many a nights discussing, work-related stuff, where Vincent would kind of mentor Harold. Eventually, over a year or two, the two of them became very close friends. Some would say best friends. They would often go out to the woods, do some hiking, some stuff that didn't relate to drinking anymore, which got Harold down a better path. His health was looking a little bit better. They would hunt, do a lot of shooting practice, stuff like that. But as a lot of friendships do, Harold and Vincent's friendship did come to an end when they parted ways. For Vincent, it was kind of a literal sense, as he did say, he seemed to split and multiply, eventually vanishing down a dozen alleys. So Harold didn't really know what that was about. Throughout the years, Harold did notice that Vincent was kind of taller than most people. He was very abnormally tall. After him and Vincent split up, go their own ways, Harold ends up going for a new job as a hunter in the bayou. At one point in this career, Harold and some other new hunters, they find themselves down at a new prison in Lawson. while at that prison, they're ambushed by a monster that is now dubbed as the Assassin. This assassin seemed to be made of insects, and he would materialize into this humanoid-like form and end up slaughtering some of the hunters. It wasn't even a close fight. It wasn't even fair. But Harold, the researcher, does make it out alive, and during his encounter with this assassin, he did notice himself finding some similarities between the assassin and his old friend Vincent. He referred to it as a recognition. Harold had some feelings about the assassin and that it could be his old friend. Sometime later, Harold was informed of a different encounter that a different hunter named Daniel Glanton had with the assassin. Daniel ended up shooting the assassin straight in its chest with a Romero shotgun. This shot seemed to have wounded the assassin because it recoiled and it immediately ran away. Which, as we know now, that has had a lasting effect on the assassin. Future encounters have shown that the assassin still bears those scars to this day, and it still affects the assassin greatly, which will lead us into the weaknesses of the assassin. One of these weaknesses is that weak spot in his chest. Two of the other weaknesses noted are the weakness to poison. Poison damage is very strong against the assassin, and blunt and slashing melee are also very effective, as well as certain explosives. We'll get into that near the end here. So at this point in the video, I'm going to be showing you some examples of different fights that I've had with the assassin in recent times. And during this video, I want you to just notice some of the attacks and some of the ways we attempted to kill the assassin. So the assassin's attacks can be broken down into 4 separate attack patterns. The first one and most common is the stab. The assassin stabs with a spear made of bones. The attack doesn't do it. It does probably like half your health if it hits you, but it does leave you bleeding. But you can interrupt it by dealing damage to the assassin before he hits you, except for in one instance, which we'll go over in a moment. The next attack is a ranged attack where the assassin throws a bone spear. The attack deals damage in a slight area around where it hits. So even if you're kind of around cover, if it hits next to you, it could still hit you, and it does cause bleeding as well. The next attack is an attack with the assassin's clones. The assassin splits itself into 3, so 2 new clones and the main body. The clones charge at hunters in the area, and once they get into close proximity, they will explode, causing very little damage, but skewing the vision of the hunter with its insects crawling all over your face. Very kind of like icky for people who don't like insects. I'm sure that would be really bad. Okay, the 4th and final attack is the frenzy attack. The frenzy attack or frenzy mode is where the assassin he starts screaming and his clones pop out of him and they charge you. This mode happens about every quarter of HP that the assassin loses. The clones will do their thing. They will charge you, explode on you. If they end up exploding on you and blinding you, the assassin will do a stab attack, but this stab attack will be uninterruptible and it is guaranteed to hit. But we can take advantage of this frenzy mode, which you will be seeing in this video, kind of. We try to do it a lot. When it comes to ways to kill the assassin, you'll see some of these fights here. We're going to be using melee weapons found in the world, like the shovel you saw. The hammer is really good. The axe is really good for the assassin. When you have these melee weapons, 2 to 3 heavy hits when it's not enraged will generally do a quarter of its HP, which will send it into that frenzy mode. When it's in that frenzy mode, you can continuously hit it and keep it in sort of a stun lock. If you're lucky, sometimes he gets out of it, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes you can sit there and hit him like, 10 to 15 times, assuming you have a stam shot going, and you will kill him super quick. You can kill the assassin within like 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds if you get a lucky stun lock going, especially with like 3 people. Another common way you can kill the assassin effectively is with fire. Most likely way to kill it with fire would be using lanterns found in the compound or fire bombs that you have on you. Fire ammo does catch it on fire, but that fire doesn't do a substantial amount because it goes away so quickly. What I like to do a lot, like you've seen in the video in the background, is throw a lantern or shoot a lantern to cut off a choke point where the assassin will have to go through to get to me. And every time it comes to get me, it will catch on fire. It will lose a substantial amount of HP, and I can melee it. The next effective way, and likely one of the most effective ways, is utilizing his weakness to poison to absolutely decimate him. You can use poison bolts or poison bombs or to really destroy him. Poison ammo does do okay as well, but that lingering poison is what really can destroy him. The last method I want to talk about today would be a big dynamite bundle. A big dynamite bundle is risky, but if you time it well, it will one tap the assassin. It's super quick, definitely the quickest way if you do good. If you don't, you might kill yourself. Part of the part of the risk reward system here, right? One more thing I do want to mention is sticky bombs do not work against the assassin. It's pointless to throw it. Once the assassin goes into his insect form and starts crawling around the ground and on walls and stuff, any projectiles that were stuck into it will drop to the ground at that point. So the sticky bomb will just drop to the ground and do no damage. With the fire and the flames we carry on. So yeah, guys, that's my video on the assassin. You guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything that I may have missed, feel free to tell me in the comment section. I read them all. I respond to all of them. I really appreciate it. I also appreciate it if you guys would like the video and subscribe. It's free. Why not do it?